Yes. So we don't. It's not sure if he's already been taken out because his jet was impounded, so he didn't leave the country.
N-
So it's just a matter of
Well, he could
the
have
two
taken
countries
first class and
negotiating when
gone
he's
out.
getting him picked up.
Now, if you know, because I'm hearing this for the first time. So if what Mika is saying is actually the case, what we know is that until the morning before the State of the Nation address,
Yes.
members of Parliament were still in session in Parliament,
Very positive.
and they were defending Adani, like
Correct.
Opio
Adani,
and
yes.
I. They were defending Adani. So in my understanding, this might have come as a surprise.
There was already another deal that had been set up by the previous government for creation of another terminal called the Greenfield Terminal, which was supposed to add another runway and another terminal. So that Greenfield project was scrapped out, and Adani was supposed to come over. And the thing is, like, Adani were not just only facelifting the airport, but Adani were going to take the running of the airport from KAA and lease it for 30 years. That's 30 years of Adani controlling how they run the airport, the money they're taking from the airport, they split with the government. And in short, the deal involved them holding the lease to the title for the airport. Now, when this was mentioned out at first, it came out during the protest when Mandamano was heavy. A lot of Kenyans didn't really take too much matter into it, and the young man that brought it out kept bringing it, and then Senator Onchonka is the one who came in public now and started talking about it.
There will be a lot of politics tonight, and this hour I'll be talking about the bombshell announcement to cancel Adani projects in Kenya. We'll discuss the U.S. Department of Justice indictment that preceded this cancellation, and we'll be asking if there'll be a political fallout or repercussions as this caught the broad-based coalition partners off guard. Please drop a comment below and let us know where you are tuned in from. Type in the comments and let us know where you're tuned in from. I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi, and it's Friday the 22nd of November. We are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to follow OneMicShow on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And like, comment, share, do everything to get our numbers up in the algorithms. On panel with me tonight is Mr. OneMic Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och is going to be joining us shortly via Zoom. And our resident DJ Moshfire has been on the decks and will be joining us also on set. And also not forgetting that super producer is none other than Mubelwa Wabandio. So I can see a number of people already tuned in. I can see Afro-Jamaican is already in the building. Washeke pale anasema no loot all. Cancel the deal because the puppet master ordered him to do so. Now Washeke, please tell us who the puppet master is. We're trying to find out. We're trying to know if there was outside interference when it came to this cancellation. Washeke, please let us know. And I can also see Stephen Bati, aka Mr. Sambaza, is already tuned in. Anasema tupo site salamu kutoka Dallas, Texas. Of course, everybody in Texas is always represented deep. Earlier on, Washeke was asking DJ Moshfire to cheza Kasongo. I don't know why Kasongo started playing and then DJ Moshfire akapiga corner. So DJ Moshfire will be explaining that later on in the show. And then I can see also
Mute him.
I can also see Washeke is asking what you did. I think this was when you were playing the music, and I can also see Brown Sugar. Brown Sugar is also tuned in, and I also saw Anthony Thuotho earlier on, all the way from Boston, tuned in. And then Washeke is saying she is tuning in from Jose Cuervo. I don't know whether that's a city in Texas, or I don't know whether it's a drink, or I don't know exactly what it is. Washeke, maybe you can explain that a bit better to us. And Washeke says puppet master is equal to foreign partners. And then Stephen J pale anasema tuko ndani. Texas, stand up. Texas always representing deeply in the building, and we are very, very grateful for that. Now we are going to get started right away. Now, in what came as a bombshell, Kenya's President William Ruto announced the cancellation of multi-billion infrastructure deals with India's Adani group of companies. Reuters reported that one of the controversial deals was worth nearly $2 billion US dollars. And it was to add a second runway at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and do an upgrade to the passenger terminal in exchange of a 30-year lease. Also cancelled was a separate public-private partnership deal worth over $700 million between Andani and the Energy Ministry to construct transmission power lines. Now, these bombshell cancellations announced during Ruto's annual State of the Nation address were curiously made less than 24 hours following an indictment on bribery of senior Andani officials in the U.S. The U.S. Department of Justice had just indicted the chairman of the Andani Group, along with 7 other senior executives on a bribery scheme to secure lucrative solar energy contracts worth over $250 million. That's the bribery. The bribery was worth over $250 million. Now, the Andani Group of companies has previously been linked to several controversies and corruption scandals in their home country, India, and around the globe. Now, the OneMicShow tonight seeks to find out if President Ruto's bombshell announcement were on principle or if the U.S. forced his hand to drop these controversial Andani deals. The Kenyans have been protesting for months, and tonight we want to find out why were these deals dropped. And at the same time, I want you to please drop your comments below as we get started, and of course tell us where you're tuned in from and what you think. And I also want to take this opportunity to start introducing the panel. I'm going to start with Mika Och tonight, who is live and direct via Zoom. Now, Mika, as we get warmed up and we get started, before you tell us about your cold week, please briefly tell us why Kenyans have been demanding the cancellation of the Andani airport expansion and energy deals. Before we get deep into what has happened, but why Kenyans have been protesting against these deals for months. So, Mika, to get us started, tell us why Kenyans were protesting. Mika Och, twende kazi.
Thank you very much, Ali, and I want to welcome everybody else. It's been a good, I want to welcome everybody else. It's been a nice cold Friday, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for braving this winter with us. And without wasting a lot of time, let me just jump into it. This Andani scandal was actually...
Okay, na Mika tuongeza sauti kidogo. Your voice is a bit low on your side.
Nyinyi ongezeni sauti.
Okay. Okay, sawa sawa. Aya, sawa sawa. Let's go ahead, Mika.
So the Andani scandal was brought to the public domain by a guy on Twitter called Solamenya. And I think somebody who works in the airport authorities is the one who put it out, that the airport is being leased out for renovation, this company, for a certain amount of money. And the certain amount of money that was being put out, it didn't add sense. Remember, this is an airport that in 2022, they opened the new terminal. There was already another deal that had been set up by the previous government for creation of another terminal called the Greenfield Terminal, which was supposed to add another runway and another terminal. So that Greenfield project was scrapped out, and Andani was supposed to come over. And the thing is, like, Andani were not just only facelifting the airport, but Andani were going to take the running of the airport from KAA and lease it for 30 years. That's 30 years of Andani controlling how they run the airport, the money they're taking from the airport, they split with the government. And in short, the deal involved them holding the lease to the title for the airport. Now, when this was mentioned out at first, it came out during the protest when the matter was heavy. A lot of Kenyans didn't really take too much matter into it. And the young man that brought it out kept bringing it. And then Senator Onchonka is the one who came in public now and started talking about it. And started publicly talking about it. Then it was later learned that the Andani group was not just only involved in the airport scandals, in taking the airport. They were involved in the Ketraco deal, which meant that they were the ones who were going to take over the infrastructure of the power in Kenya and basically take over the building of transformers, power lines, and completing everything and renovations and replacing of everything that is energy in Kenya. And also there's a third Andani deal that most people don't know, and I don't think most people, the president didn't mention it, and this one is involved in the SHA. So Andani, one of the companies that is run by Andani, is supposed to take the technological part of integrating of healthcare data in Kenya. Basically, this is a very sensitive job. This is something that I do as my job for bread and butter, is digitizing all the healthcare records into the country and putting them into one storage hub so that we can be able to, let's say, a pastoralist gets bitten by a snake in Turkana and they go to hospital and they are treated. If they need to be airlifted to Nairobi, or they need to go for further specialized treatment to Nairobi, and they go to Nairobi Hospital, the doctors in Nairobi Hospital, all they have to do is enter the patient's details, and they can pull up all their medical records since the records are being collected. And this ensures there's a continuity of care for the patient. So whichever part of the country you are, if you go to hospital, the doctors can know which medications you're on, which treatments you've had. They can see how your body has been responding to certain treatments. Basically, your treatment is on your fingertips. This also allows billing for the patient's treatment to become something called meaningful use, whereby the billing companies, the insurance companies can see exactly what you're treated of and make sure. Most times you can go to hospital and a doctor prescribes to you 20 medicines where only 2 medicines are what you need, because the doctor has a deal with the pharmaceuticals on what they do. So basically, it's something that's meaningful and used, but it's also, healthcare data is something that's very sensitive, as if it's something that is put into the wrong hands, they can basically find a way to manipulate the citizenship of that country and kill you through biological warfare. All in all, these are deals that Andani was being given by the government. 3 major infrastructures: healthcare, energy, and the airport, the main hubs. And this is something that Kenyans looked at it and said no. And the P2P deals that they were doing were done without any due diligence. There was no competition. Everything was awarded to Andani. And then now word started coming out on how these deals were procured, how there are some ministers who went to Dubai. You remember there's a minister who went to Dubai and was detained in Dubai, and he had to go get picked up by the president. And that minister has never left the country anymore. And actually, the last time he left the country, he went to France, and he had to come back real quick. He went during the Olympics after he had been moved to a different docket. And he had to return the country real quick because he realized he can be
Kimeumana.
Kimeumana, anaweza shuka tena akarudi kwa country tena.
Okay.
So Andani has been something that has been on the people's mind. It's been something that has been fought in the court. Okia Mtata have been fighting in the court. The High Court has really delayed their Andani deals to come through. And it's such a shame that the previous day, the president had spoken about Andani.
Okay.
The minister had spoken about Andani that night. But when the US said what they said, somebody decided that Andani is not good.
Okay. All right. That's a very good starting summary. Like maybe for those who just did not know what was going on with Andani in Kenya and just saw the American news, because we have a lot of like quiet audience members who are not Kenyan. So that's what was going on the Andani side in Kenya before this project was cancelled. So Mika, asante sana, karibu. And then Apa Stephen JJ anasema, today I'm sipping slow on the Mama Juana Dominican Republic fire drink. Okay. And I can see also Tabitha Njeri and Adhiambo Doctor tuned in. I hope, your sound ya Mika issue ilikuwa resolved. And then I can see also Njoki Marian is also tuned in. Karibu sana, karibu to the OneMicShow. And then I now want to go to DJ Omosh Fire. But before that, tonight's show, is brought to you courtesy of money sending app Lemfi. The One Mic Show is offering $30 for the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code One Mic. If you don't, the easier way to do it is just by clicking on the link pinned on both the YouTube side and on the Facebook side on the comment section, and go straight and download it. And I can also see, there's a couple of people who already tuned in on the YouTube side. I can see Maura Muroki saying Shiko and Maura ready to hear. Karibu sana. And then Proxy anasema kichwa ngumu. Sa Proxy fafanua tafadhali. Kichwa ngumu ni nani?
I think maybe this was in reference to you making comments about playing Kasongo. That's what I think. That's what I'm getting out of it. But Proxy can tell us.
Proxy will tell us. And then Stephen Batiapa, Mr. Sambaza anasema today it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be fire. So I now want to go to DJ Omosh Fire as we get ready to know about your week. I want you to contemplate this. Do you think Ruto acted independently for the good of Kenya? Just looking at it from an outsider perspective. Or might the US have pressured him into this surprising decision to cancel Adani? DJ Omosh Fire, karibu sana.
Asante. Thank you to all our fans, our listeners, washikiaji, watazamaji, One Mic's Relas, and watu wa Lemfi, karibuni. Ruto, not the week. I'd say yes and no. So traditionally, we've always known Ruto to basically he plays the long game. So for him, it's always about, what is he getting out of it? How can he salvage this? How is he going to look up there or look outside, or how is he going to look? Because he has been, what should I call him? The poster child of African leadership. Should I say that the Western world is holding high up? So for him, he's playing the cautious long game. He needs a second presidency.
A second term.
Yes. I was saying second president. Yeah, he needs a second term. He needs to have the powerful peoples behind him in terms of backing him and with his policies and so on and so forth. They also need him, as we have discussed in previous shows, with the different bases for the UK, for the US, and there are probably other players who we may not necessarily have known of, who want to use Kenya as a central hub, because it's very easy to operate from Kenya in order to do whatever you need to do in the African region. As well as with even though we have Mavutiano, but we still have peace. If you think about it, it's not UG, it's not Congo, it's not some of the other places that have been volatile and not very stable, so Kenya meets all of those things. And from an infrastructure perspective, it also is there. Digital hub. There's a whole slew of things that you can put towards Kenya. So for him, he's looking at the long game. This was for him to save face, to make it look like Kenya is basically saying that there are a no-go zone for folks, or there'll be there'll be a zero tolerance for so-called corruption, or looking like there's corruption, or if it is known that you have been in a situation where there's corruption, then Kenya is going to say that they're not going to be involved or go to bed with you, which is the statement that they put out more or less by cancelling this deal with Andani. The other thing that we are not privy to, and it's not necessarily being made public, or we're not being given this information, is that the US, as part of their investigation for this whole India bribing and the US investors, putting their money into the Andani deal for the Indian energy sector thing that they were doing, part of that investigation brought out the Kenyan bribery stuff. So I don't think this is the end of it. There's more to come.
But Omosh, what is the long game that Ruto is playing here?
For me, the way I'm looking at it is that he wants to look, what is it called? Safi kama pamba.
He wants to come out clean.
Is it a matter of wanting to come out clean, or is it a matter of, let's look at how the SEC laws work in America. When they go for you, they usually go for you and everybody that's involved.
Correct.
rumor has it that Andani was supposed to be a guest of the state in parliament during the State of the Union
State
address.
of the Nation. Oh my
State
goodness.
of the Nation address, right?
Yeah.
Andani was supposed to be presented, and it was supposed to be a done deal, because the energy part of the deal was done.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
The healthcare part of the deal, which President Ruto didn't say that he has cancelled, is still going on. Because the company is not known as Andani. But
yes, it's a different company. Yes, it's one of their conglomerates. Yes.
It's still going on. So I don't see what long game he's playing there. It's only that what I'm saying is that it's a thing of he was stronged up, because if we look at this proper, if the Andani deal was supposed to go, and the way the US laws are that if you've involved in any bribery using an American company, they are going to come for everybody, regardless of what particular position you hold in government. And the people who have been mentioned in the Andani case is the president's boy, Murkomen.
Yeah.
He is the main person who's been mentioned in the Andani deal. So is it a matter of playing the long game, or is it a matter of protecting my people? Because Andani was in Kenya.
Yeah.
Andani, he believed his state security was taken out. Chances are he's going to get arrested while he's in Kenya, because he can't leave. His jet was impounded.
So now
he can't leave Kenya. He's most likely going to be the guest of the state within the next week, or already is. We don't know. But
so he's currently in Kenya.
Yes.
Okay.
Since the last he was in Kenya, he was supposed to be in parliament during when was it, the day before yesterday?
Yeah, during the State of the Nation address.
Yes. So it's not sure if he's already been taken out, because his jet was impounded, so he didn't leave the country. So it's just a matter of
could have taken first class and gone out.
Getting him picked up.
Now, if you know, because I'm hearing this for the first time. So if what Mika is saying is actually the case, what we know is that until the morning before the State of the Nation address,
yes,
members of Parliament were still in session in Parliament,
very positive,
and they were defending Andani. You know,
correct,
like Opio and I, they were defending Andani. So in my understanding, this might have come as a surprise. And even Ruto himself, if Ruto knew, I think this is something that was that he was back armed very like moments, like maybe a day before the speech, and told. Like,
I don't think it was a day. This was hours. Cannot, I don't think it was a day. That thing changed.
Yes.
Because think about it. Go ahead.
These guys knew about the Andani. They knew about the indictment.
Correct. It was, yes, we all, yes, they knew it was happening, but nobody, it had not been, the information had not come out.
But they had not communicated it to the team.
Information had not come out. See, remember, they were being investigated. So the investigation was ongoing. But then now when they actually said, now we are going to indict.
Yeah.
Happened to sasa, when as the thing is being released, it seems like probably intelligence pia kabla itolewe kwa gazeti, intelligence ikakuja kaambia wase.
There probably was a phone call that was made.
Yes.
Before.
Correct. That's why I said intelligence.
Address the nation.
Yes.
And that is where he had to he had to figure out a way on how to. If this indictment hadn't happened, we would have had a very different state
speech.
Of the nation.
Yes.
Speech.
Oh wow, that is quite interesting. Again, the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. You're tuned into the One Mic Show, and of course we're here talking with Mika and Omosh regarding this. Omosh was saying something.
I was gonna say, because out of this whole speech, all we had was Andani. Out of the whole thing,
I know. Yeah,
all we had was Andani.
All people are talking about is Andani,
right? So then the question you'd ask yourself is, what was he going to say?
So that's that, you know, like this is getting very interesting because you know, and these suspicions that things are being controlled from the US are now coming to life, because no one saw this coming. Even the most inside of insiders, none of them saw this coming, and it came so suddenly, like a thunderclap.
Vile unaona Mika nasema, it could have been that one of a phone call came tiriririri. That one of boss, halt, this is what's happening, and you need to do A, B, C, D, F, G.
Yeah.
Play this game right.
Exactly. And I'd also like, like for those who are tuned in to comment and let us know, like what they think, what they know about what's currently being said. Because now as you're speaking, new information is coming in. And of course, we'll get to know all this. I can see Arthur K. Ochieng is saying 254 to Kondani. Karibu sana, Arthur
That's my
Ochieng.
Kuzo, big shout out.
All right, karibu sana.
Amenunua bundles.
Karibu sana,
Wait a
Arthur
minute.
Ochieng.
You have a cousin called Arthur Ochieng?
And he goes by that name.
No, boss. How? Kwani Kizito Wazabanga became Arthur Ochieng, who's now your cousin?
Okay.
There we go.
Aya, sawa.
Lakini kwa kinamika si tunajua tu.
Okay, let's go back to the comments here. This says, tuning in from Taskabaridi according to the Gospel of Washekendirangu na venye it's node today. Arthur pale anasema ni moto kama pasi ya makaa. So I can see everyone is tuned in. Now, I want to come to fundi wa mitambo, Mr. Uno Mike. We know Ruto was able to buy back support following the Gen Z uprising after getting into a shotgun coalition with ODM leader Raila Odinga. Now, in the wake of the surprise decision to cancel Andani, which Kenyans had been protesting against for a while, does this enhance Ruto's reputation among his core supporters, or does it hurt him going forward? Because Kenyan politics works differently from how the world works. And of course, since that uprising, he's been trying to do things to reestablish himself politically. Now, whether this came by surprise or whether it was planned, do you think this moves helps or hurts him politically moving forward?
I think the shotgun union marriage between him and Rao is gonna be short-lived. It's not gonna go that far.
Yeah,
that is one.
Very short.
Very short. So it was just a goodwill. It was just one of those a distraction, just kidogo, able to kuja hivi tuone so that he can gather support. I mean, of course, what people are saying and saying that it's all about numbers and trying to gather numbers, and the only way you can do that is because already he knows that Murima iliguzwa, amepasua, ameichapa fimbo, so those ones are heading out. So the only way you can get numbers is to try and get Raila in so that you can get whatever numbers that he has politically, so that you don't rely on the mountain,
Central.
On the central. Anyway, it's going to be short-lived. Unfortunately, there is that he it's like Mika unakumbuka Plaxico Barres vile aliingia nini the incident akajishoot,
he shot himself,
right?
Yeah.
So even if you have a mtoo ati for protection, lakini you're misusing it and mishandling it,
or you don't know how to use it.
You don't know how to use
Yeah.
it. So you have, and there are statements that Raila has even said, he knows that even if he is going to open a construction, or is going to open a plaque or construction or whatever, he already knows there's already an MP who already has a tender. That is not those are not things that come from somebody with whom you're supposed to be. You have a broad-based government together with. So
Sharing a bed.
So you can't. So it is, and the problem is, in as much as he keeps on touting, hii mambo ya building na ajira and whatever, the reflection and things on the ground, and I'm sure even Arthur who ako 254 anaweza tuambia.
But core supporters, I'm talking of core supporters, not fickle supporters.
Core supporters.
Let's look at his core supporters. Let's go down and do a deep dive into his core support, right?
Yeah.
And let's start at his backyard. In his backyard, a place whereby the previous president from that region came from. The president ensured there was development in that country and gave them a university that was given a lot of courses that were supposed to be in the major universities that were already existing, but gave it to that college and made one of the biggest universities in Kenya, in Moi University. Right now, Moi University is on the verge of dying.
Plus an international airport.
Yeah, yes, there's an international
and a
cargo
bullet
airport,
factory that's an elephant.
All cargo in Kenya that flies into Kenya flies to Eldoret. Like, it's guaranteed. It flies, cargo, yendege kuna airport ingine Kenya, when Eldoret, JKIA kidogo, but majority of it goes to Eldoret, right? That airport is also fluctuating, it's not working the way it's supposed to work. In his other regions, we are seeing his governors, he's all facing impeachments. And they're not impeachments that are being pushed by their opponents, it's impeachment that are being pushed by the constituents. MCAs are fighting every day. They want to impeach speakers. Like basically in his political base, there's trouble already. That shows there's that defiance from the masses. He, during the Gen Z protest, what he did was, his MPs were suffering. He went and solidified with Baba, made sure he had numbers, and that allowed him to use parliament and politics to push and to calm down the protest and to sort of bulldoze his way into back to the top as he was. But the protest had exposed a weakness, and that weakness has never gone away. The defiance of the people. The people got hungry. People got mad. People realized we can shake these people. They're not untouchable. And that has continued up to now. When he did his Murima thing, in Central MP, now they're already collecting signatures to be called his MPs, the ones who supported it. In the other side, in Embu, when he went for the canonization of the bishop, they were singing in his face, must go, must go. Na amewapatia vice president, hao ndo alikuwa amewapatia vice president, hao ndo alikuwa anamwambia aende. They cheered on Gachagua, they cheered on Uhuru, on him, they were booing him. Forget even what the clergy talked to him about that day, because he already had fought with the clergy. Now he has an issue with the clergy. He fought with the biggest church. The second biggest church joined in. The third biggest church joined in. Already Supkem was fighting him. They were not listening to him. So you've lost, let's say like 80% of the religious leaders in the country. You have a measly 20% that your wife controls, that he buys. We go back to ODM. All of a sudden, ODM mouthpieces, Kina Sifuna, are calling him out. Like Sifuna has come back like he never left. Hawezi jua ule Sifuna alikuwa hapa akiruka akimtetea. Amegeuka, amerudi ule wa post maandamano. Anamchapa. Then Raila said what he said. And you remember that day I woke up and nikauliza kwani ODM hawajakanjwa? Because it looked so funny, like, wait, I thought these guys are together in bed. What's happening? Now all you've been seeing is a few bloggers who come out and pay, and now bloggers pia kwa WhatsApp group zao wanapiga screenshot, wanashare, wanaonyesha vile kuna shida kwa hizo zao. Like basically the house of cards is falling. The house of cards is falling, and now we have this international pressure that's coming in, right? This Andani deal screwed him up completely. Like the Andani deal has just exposed. Unajua ile unafikiria bado uko na longi moja ya mwisho alafu unaiva hivi ukienda kufunga inararuka hapa kwa rasa.
Yani wise.
Hiyo ndio imefanyika kabisa. Like the US exposed him in a way where, and you know, this is not something he can control, because this is something like if he tries to strong arm his way and say ni hivi, it's okay. You have corrupted the United States government. You have stolen our money through corruption because these companies are registered here. The money is from here, so you've used American money for bribery. Guess what the Americans will do to you?
And to support, to buttress Mika's point, and I think he mentioned it, his core supporters actually were bought, if you think about it.
Bought by who?
Bought because the core supporters, when the people who supposedly were supporting him, the core.
Yeah.
Ni watu, you remember when even MPs were coming out, and most of these guys who are in parliament, they were saying, it doesn't matter what Waground wanasema, it is the party that, it's Dani that put me here.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to. I don't think they're any core supporters. They were only core supporters because they
got paid.
And that's what Mika said somewhere in akisema alisema walinunuliwa. Because you remember how he was harvesting, he was cannibalizing the opposition.
Yeah. And the Baba, a person who has like core supporters, right now he's holding the fragility of this government, because if Baba pulls out, he's now completely exposed, and ready to fall apart. So
one thing,
yes.
ODM have started doing the groundwork structure. They are doing their party elections. They are positioning themselves to secure their bases against invasion in the next election. So bado sana napigana huku. What is ODM doing? ODM is restructuring, getting ready for 2027.
But now kuna watu wanasema TS sasa ndo wanavunja ODM vile wameingiza broad-based government. There are people who are saying that.
If you've noticed, and I think Sifuna gave us a snippet of it here on the show, where he said, if you've noticed, the people who have been appointed, ni wazee.
Meaning they were on their way out, or they were out.
Yeah, and the leadership of ODM, when Baba went for AU, ODM did a sort of a reshuffle without elections.
Correct.
Like, in 8 Coast issues, positions were secured, positions were tied up. Like, basically, ODM as a party doesn't need to go for elections. It's set up. The only thing they have right now is they're going for the ground local elections. Those are the elections they're doing right now. But their top office is secure, everything is good. ODM is ready to run for elections right now, with or without Baba. So
basically, they are kind of preparing for the by-elections once IEBC is set up.
By-elections and 2020, but mostly of what they're doing is 2027, because they're doing a whole countrywide, all constitutions.
All constituencies.
Elections are happening right now.
Okay, all right. That's interesting.